Good afternoon. Since even before we open, the cinema has paid special attention to black filmmakers of the 70s. It was a very florid time for black filmmakers. They were working both independently and occasionally for the studio. So we've showed work by Melvin Van Peebles, Michael Schultz, Ossie Davis, and Gordon Parks, of course, and Kathleen Collins. You know, and her daughter came, and Mario Melvin's son joined us via Zoom. It's a filmmaking time that I like very much, and I'm very honored to have today to add another piece of that puzzle. And the film is Black Girl, and is directed by the great Ossie Davis, and the writer was at the time a young playwright. He's here with us, and she's going to introduce the film, J.e Franklin, and then she's going to be with me for a Q&A. It's please help me welcome her.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think the reason, or one of the reasons, the 70s was such a lucrative time for black films is that in 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and over 125 American cities were in flames. And America began to ask the usual, and what happened, who did it, what for. And then after all those questions were answered, two professors from Brown University proposed really some films that would be shown on national educational television, telling America what happened and why, and what we could do to prevent this from happening again. And a representative from WGBH Boston came to the Harlem Writers Guild to talk about a partnership with Brown University. And they were looking for writers, primarily playwrights, to write plays about the black experience in America and what that was like. And my treatment was chosen, and I turned in an expanded treatment, which ended up being a screenplay, ended up being a video production, a script for a video production. And it played on national educational television. And 2 years later, the New Federal Theater wanted to see if I could adapt it for the stage. I adapted it for the stage. It played for over 800 performances, and road companies were formed to travel to about 10 cities. And after the stage productions, Hollywood called and asked if I could adapt it as a screenplay to be directed by Ossie Davis. And that's why we're here today. And thank you for coming.
Thank you. So please join us for the Q&A afterwards. It's an extremely unusual film. Most of the films of that era of the black filmmakers were very urban settings and very masculine, and this film is about three generations of black women, and so it's kind of a discovery, both in terms of what it documents and in terms of its well, not its plot, but it's what it depicts. So thank you, and I want to thank in particular Kathleen Tate, who is supporting this particular screening and our festival. So thank you, Kathleen.
Yes. Thank you all for coming out while she returns. I did just want to say about 2.5 years ago, UCLA reached out. They wanted to restore some of Ossie's work, and he didn't really direct a lot of films, and My Mother's Film was one of them. But of course, that was contingent upon getting the funding. And so generally, that process could be anywhere from 3 to 10 years. You know, they've got to raise the money and such. And so we were really fortunate that they received a grant from the Hobson Lucas Foundation, which is Melanie Hobson and, of course, George Lucas of Star Wars. And so that's really a big deal. And so really from them reaching out and asking for permission, getting the funding, and then restoring the film, the turnaround time was extremely short, and that's really unusual. And so we're really eternally grateful to both UCLA's Film Archive and, of course, the Melody Hobson and George Lucas Foundation for putting up the funds for the restoration. And so I'm just going to turn it back over to you.
This is, by the way, I haven't even introduced it. This is Malika Ngazi. She's J.e Franklin daughter.
Yes, yes.
Come.
Thank you, Giulia. Well, I brought a copy of my book, Black Girl from Genesis to Revelations, because after all three of the genres had shown the work, I was asked to write an account of what happened from the video to stage to screen. And I did that in Black Girl from Genesis to Revelations. And it's out of print. I have the only copy. But I can basically tell you that I just wanted to kind of write down, just keep an account of what I went through through each version of the script. In the first version, the one WGBH, the original script ran about an hour and 20 minutes, and I was asked to cut back to 57 minutes because that's the standard. The timing, everything had to be timed 57 minutes so that there would be 3 minutes for the credits and the advertisements. And so I did, and I moved a couple of times. I lost the pages. I didn't know where they were. And when I was doing the play, I was asked to do the play, and I'd never done anything like that. I had never gone from one genre to the next. And when I did it for the stage, now I was asked to put some stuff back, but I couldn't find the pages I cut. And I was not until after I was asked to adapt it for the screen that I kind of found some of the pages, but not all of them. But in this, there's a version of the whole work that I've collected together in a book called To Break Every Yoke. So in that book, I have a collection of the four genres that I've been working in: full-length plays, one-act plays, 10-minute plays, and then 3-minute plays. And that's the only publication that has the entire script in it. But I just wanted to let you see what this looked like. If you see a book like this with my picture on it, then it has Black Girl in it, and the log, which is my version of what I went through from the video to the stage. It played at the Lucille Lortel Theater for over 800 performances, and then I made it into a film.
What was the germ? What was where the idea come from? Even with this different permutation, what was the thing that you thought first about the story about these women?
Well, it's based on a personal experience of living in it wasn't a foster home, but it was living in a home with someone who already had 5 girls in the house. And I wanted to just kind of explore what that was like for me.
Was this in Texas or?
Yes, it was.
You're from Texas, right?
I'm from Texas. I was born in Houston, in the 5th Ward district of Houston, and I went to school in the 5th Ward, and this is where the story took place. That's why you saw a lot of Southern references.
And how much from that idea to to the film? In the so the play was very well recognized and it had a lot of performances. So that's why you caught the Hollywood's attention. And how much did that change from that play to move to Los Angeles? What were the biggest changes from the stage to the big screen?
Well, in theater, there's a saying, playwrights know this, that in the theater, the playwright has the last word. But when it comes to film, the director has the last word. Yeah, the studio has the last word, and that is why it's called Isaac Davis's film, because it really is Isaac Davis's film. And it's based on my story and the screenplay that I wrote, but a lot of things end up on the cutting floor, and the playwright has nothing to do with that. We don't. They don't even want us around. So I see some people in the audience saying, "Yeah, so you probably had an experience with that too."
So you met Ossie Davis and you were talking. Did they ask you any question? You say they don't even want you around.
No, you don't get asked any questions. But yes, I met Ozzy, and in fact, Ozzy and Ruby were involved in my 10-minute plays. When I introduced them to New York at the Apollo Theater and the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture.
And what was this? Was before the film or after?
This
was just much after.
Many years after the film that we started working together in the theater, in the New York theater.
And did you talk about the film and what happened?
No, we didn't talk about the film. If anybody wanted to know about the film, if they can get their hands on this book, we'll know about the film. But no, we didn't talk about that.
But one of the things that is unusual is not only that it's women, it's generation of women, and then Ossie Davis brought up a neorealism quality to to the film. There are certain things in the film that kind of remind us of the other, the most commercial type of black filmmaking at the time, black exploitation. The scene where the girls with the knife, it's feels like it's made to make it a little bit more like a genre piece rather than. Did you have that impression? Was it there? Was it on the page?
Oh, that's on the page, but I tried to get it out of the advertisement because that was just.
You mean the trailer?
All of that.
Yeah.
Yes, because that was only one little point in the film, in the story, even in the original story, and why they blew the whole idea of the violence, the suggestion of violence, the knife. I asked them not to use that in the promotion, and they took the knife out, and then they put it back in a few months later. So, as I said, they have the last word.
How come?
That's why I didn't.
But you now own the film, right? So like to screen this, I have to ask UCLA permission for to get the DCP, but they also but you have the rights of the film.
I have the rights.
So how did it come back to you?
Oh, a long journey. For years, I couldn't find the film, and I was working at the New Federal Theater, and I got a call from someone who said, there's a policeman who wants to see you. He works in the police department. And he called me, and we met, and he did work in the police department, but he was a film buff. And he told me that he was at a conference out west, and he saw the film, and he traded the film he had with someone who had Black Girl. And he asked me if I wanted it, and I said, of course. I've been looking for it for, at the time, it was about 35 or 40 years I hadn't seen the film. And he actually gave it to me.
So it was a 16 millimeter, it was a print?
No, it was 35.
35, wow.
Yeah, 35, yeah. He actually gave it to me.
And the rights had expired, so it was yours.
It's mine. Now, the original, the WGBH version of the work was lost in a fire. In fact, the master copy for all of those works, I think there were 20 works in that On Being Black series that WGBH and Brown University coordinated. And there's a rumor that Berry Gordy copied the WGBH version, the National Education Television version, that he copied it off the air and that he has a copy. But people who know Barry, or, tried to get him to let us see that. If he did that, that's great, because he would have the only copy of the WGBH version, yeah. But we haven't been able to run it down. Yeah.
So when Black Kirk came out, did you have more people coming after you to write for cinema? Were you intrigued and thinking, I want to go to Los Angeles and do more? What was your state of mind and your desire?
Well, before I left Hollywood, the producers asked me if I would spin it off into a sitcom for television. And they offered me a living space in Hollywood, and they told me I could retire on the amount of money that I could make. And at the time, I was a lecturer in the Department of Education at Lehman College, which is part of the SUNY University. And I asked the chair of the department what my situation was in terms of whether I could stay or whether I could go to Hollywood. And between the two offers, I decided I'd better stay in New York and stay at Lehman. And so I turned down all that other stuff because it really didn't appeal to me in terms of spinning it into television. I didn't like the idea. So.
But did you on your own? Did you write other script, or were you in touch with other filmmakers and within that sort of cultural?
No, I was really was interested in doing my own work and other works that I have, because Black Girl is not the only play I've written.
Writing, yeah.
and also. I had bought a house and I had a daughter, and really just trying to explore some other themes, and like education, for example, and what do you teach children, and so I'm very glad that I made that choice. That this Robert Frost, this fork in the road, which way are you going to go? Did I choose the right road? Should I have stayed in Hollywood and
write the sitcom?
All my bills would have been taken care of, or did I do the right thing to stay at Lehman College? I think I made the right choice and stay at Lehman. And it was difficult, but I enjoyed the ride. Been good.
Raise your hand if you have questions. Oh, there is just one right there.
You said that you were inspired a bit. Thank you. You said that you were inspired a bit by your personal experience living as sort of a foster child with a family in Houston that had like 5 other people relatively your own age. Do you know if any of them are aware of the play or the film, or if any of them have seen it, and have you been in contact with them?
Oh yeah, they saw the film. They saw it it played in Houston.
Did they go?
It played on National Education Television was the first showing of the story. Right. And, people tend not to recognize themselves in some of these works. But they recognize some other people in it. So, I got approached.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do I see a hand up behind there?
You said that the title of your book ended in the word revelation.
Yeah, Black Girl from Genesis to Revelations.
I was wondering if you could just elaborate and share with us what the revelation entails.
Of course, it's biblical. It's the Bible, the Genesis and Revelation, the first book and the last book. I thought that because I was chronicling the journey of the work from the video to the stage and to the screen, that this was the beginning and the whole pathway that it took, from the beginning and until the end of it. And really, by the time I got to the screenplay and finished it, I was really finished with the work. And I wanted to go on to something else. So that was the end as far as I was concerned.
There's someone.
It was extraordinarily, I felt very gripped, and it felt more like a play to me than a movie. Mm-hmm. Because it felt very real. Mm-hmm. And this is probably the movie over the last several days that has really gripped me. And you've kind of alluded to that you experienced things, because it felt like it was possibly autobiographical and that there were themes that you lived through that you wanted to communicate. Right. Were there themes that you can specify that you wanted people to walk away from seeing this as a takeaway? Because it just felt so real.
Well, I was aware that the whole issue of education versus schooling and loyalty to family and choices that young people have to make when they reach a certain age. When you're leaving that high school experience. Like, what do you do with your life? And you know what you're interested in doing, but what are you going to become? And that whole idea of not career, but the unfolding of the personality and the morals and the values that you take with you into life, because you don't know where you're going to be going. You don't know what kind of experiences you're going to have after that experience, and how do you handle these experiences? What values can you take with you that can help you roll with the punches? What if Billie Jean had listened to her sisters and decided she was going to stay home and not go to college? What would her life be like? Would she be able to project into the future what that was going to do to her, and how she was going to handle that? I know people who made the decision not to go to college, who married, got a job, got a husband, had children. I know people who did that. And they wish they had taken another route. So that's a big decision to make when you're pressured. When you feel that pressure, what strengths do you have to overcome that pressure?
There's someone right there.
Hi. Well, I mimic what Suzanne said, that it was so emotional, and I love that you chose education in your course of life over Hollywood and the sitcom. And I'm sorry, it was just so emotional. Did you ever contact your biological parents? Because so you were raised in the foster home, and then did you ever know your biological mother? Or
Oh yeah,
parents?
yeah. I knew my. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, my parents died in 1963. I graduated from high school in 1956. So between 1956 and 1963, I was in college, and dealing with the college experience, and then I joined the civil rights movement, and went down to Mississippi, and I was an activist, and I was an educator, trying to work out some strategies for teaching children how to read, because many of the children that we met in Mississippi were graduating from high school, and they couldn't read on a second grade level. And so I was involved in trying to use theater to teach them how to read. But yes, my parents lived maybe 5 blocks from where I was growing up in this foster situation. 5 blocks, if that.
There's a question there.
Thank you so much. I was surprised when Billie Jean pulled out her letters. How did you work out the timing of when she would sort of reveal her sort of animosity towards the situation with Loretta?
Well, we're talking about a story that took place over 50 years ago, and I just let the whole thing just unfold viscerally and organically. I wasn't trying to choose a time when this is going to happen here and that's going to happen there. If you could have seen the original version of it, and that WGBH version really was the one that I felt was the most real, because that was the first version. And when I turned in the treatment, it was only 4 pages of the treatment, because the treatment, and I'd never written a treatment, but the scout from WGBH was just looking for core stories that he felt could be developed with Brown University for the On Being Black series. He was just looking for some stories that they felt could be developed, and he wanted to just make sure that I could do what I said I could do. And I just said, I can write this story. And I gave him the 4 pages, and it wasn't a good 2 weeks before I heard from him. And at the time, I didn't have an agent, but when I told a friend I've been contacted by WGBH and I'm going to develop this story, he became my agent and negotiated the contract and everything. Then in 1969, it was on its feet, and it was on national educational television. So it didn't take that long. There wasn't very much time at all between the time that the Scout came to the Harlem Writers Guild and was looking for writers. And 2 weeks later, I was told, we want this story. Let's see if you can do it. And that was in late 1968. And then about November of 1969, it was on national education television.
There is a phenomenal group of actresses in the film. They're really, and they're all these different degrees of emotion and depth. And did they reach out to you? I mean, as the writer, any of the actresses, did you develop a relationship with, or?
Well, we sort of had an agreement that, once we started talking about the film, I wanted to know how much input I could have as the writer, because we've been told, writers get told, the director has the last word, and you're a playwright, but this is not the play. It's going to be the film. So I know that Ozzy had some people in mind for the film. The producers had some people in mind for the film, and there were people in various versions of the project that I'd worked with and I'd seen on the stage. The little girl who played Billie Jean, for example, was in one of the road companies. She wasn't in the New York version. She wasn't in the WGBH version, but I saw her in one of the road companies. I think it was the Baltimore company, because I think there were about 9 or 10 road companies that toured. And so I saw her in the Baltimore road company, and I really wanted her to be Billie Jean. And so we negotiated, sometimes somebody would get picked and I wouldn't agree, but you have to kind of trade off, you can have Madea if I can have Billie Jean. And, you want Mr. Herbert, so you pick Mr. Herbert, and then I'll pick Earl. But sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. I felt that there was someone in the New Federal Theater version that I felt would have been a better Madea, but the producers wanted Claudia McNeil, and so you gotta kind of swap and trade and let people have their way, and so that things can run smoothly and get the project get off the ground. And
do you have any other question? I think I don't see the last row. Okay, no, I don't see any. Well, okay. I thank you so much.